Hello, everyone. Um, since I'm already in the barn, Rick asked me to stall a little bit. He's running a little behind. So I'm going to take this opportunity to provide a moving experience for you folks, which some of you may think would be utterly ridiculous. But I'm going to milk this for all it's worth. What? Well, I heard him coming in. Well, I got to go. Sorry, he's back, so I'm going to just bail out here and turn it over to Rick. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Friday follow-up in that continuing journey of accountability. Sorry about the little glitch. I was running behind and thought we would just kind of fool around today, given that it's April Fool's Day. But humor is sometimes difficult to discuss seriously. If you were fortunate enough to listen to one of the last TOPS talks by Joe Naglowski from OAC, the Obesity Action Coalition, he talked about how it's one of the last bullying tactics out there is fat shaming and making jokes just because somebody is obese. But humor can play an important role. It all depends on how it's used. And as we learned this week, the rules of humor are always changing. What was probably considered okay a few weeks ago, a few months ago, or years ago is no longer tolerated. But you look in all the articles dealing with the psychology of humor, humor can be a good coping mechanism. I've used it all my life because I've battled obesity all my life. And I think I turned to humor early on. And I'll admit, some of my humor is not the best, but some of the best groaners will kind of make me smile. But I think I turned to humor early on just as a defense mechanism, try to make light of a tough situation. Not easy to do. And if you do that, you have to be careful not to offend somebody else. I like to think of TOPS as a safe zone because I bet for sure, I'm like 100% of us have all scars from growing up where somebody said something and maybe they didn't realize it. And I try not to hold a grudge, and it's difficult to do, but they might not realize how they hurt with the wrong words. Maybe they thought they were helping. Who knows? It's such a difficult subject to talk about. Probably a difficult subject to talk about in a situation like this. Much easier to talk one-on-one, face-to-face in a group to tell somebody, hey, I really don't like that. And or tell them that reminds me of when I was growing up. Yeah, fat shaming is really, really difficult to discuss. And also, going with humor, I think it's safer to kind of like, you just kind of make fun of yourself. But then again, that can give a signal to someone that it's okay to join in. Again, you see how tricky this is. But in a TOPS chapter or talking to a fellow TOPS member that more than likely has the same issues that you have, makes it, I think, a little bit easier to discuss. Of course, it's going to take a long time to convince society that obese people have feelings too, and that we shouldn't be the subject of their easy ridicule. And sometimes that's considered easy humor. But I can't help but thinking some of all the great comedians that I grew up with, when you think of Jonathan Winters, Jackie Gleason, they were all large men. And I think their humor came somewhere from deep issues that when they were growing up, because they were battling obesity. So, being overweight is not a laughing matter. The fact that we can tend to get into situations that are difficult to manage. I wonder sometimes, is that why we fool ourselves? We try little tricks that probably aren't healthy, aren't safe, but we're so desperate to get out of that package, if you will, that people are looking us from on the outside, and we don't want to be that object of ridicule. And I think that can motivate us incorrectly to doing some unsafe things. Again, Tops is that safe zone to say, maybe we shouldn't be trying this latest greatest gadget that's on TV, or this brand new pill that guarantees weight loss, and just by spending a lot more money. It's just not there. And you've heard me say before, if you dig deeper into those ads and look at the fine print, sensible eating and moderate exercise is a key, one of the keys to getting healthy, and that's what we're all about. I don't know, and how many people are in a chapter are willing to share, or is your chapter meeting designed to allow people to share? I remember quite a while ago, a gentleman in my chapter had suggested that whenever we did the roll call, to give that person a minute or two to say, hey, I had a gain this week. It was a rough week. I had some stressful situations, but I'm getting better. Or, I had a pound loss this week, and I kind of got my head on straight, and this is what I did to keep away from stress. Just that moment, because we all want a soapbox to stand on. And, it's great for chapters to have programs and share information, but it's nice to have that dialogue back and forth, to give that person a chance to open up, because we have a lot inside, folks. There's a lot there that need to unpack. And again, getting back to society and how they see folks dealing with obesity, they're only seeing the outside, and they don't realize that we're great inside. We have a lot to offer. I remember growing up when I had a job. My buddy had got me a job on a farm, and I showed up on my bike, and they didn't think I could do the work because I was a husky kid. That was the term back in the day, husky kid. And that kind of probably made me work harder than anybody else. I didn't want to be called lazy. I didn't want to get labeled. But not everybody can get those coping mechanisms in place. I was very fortunate to have a cousin to tell me, when I look back now, because of what I've learned in Tops, and I kind of go back, some of this stuff I had buried for years, but now going back during this, rough times and being, kidded when I was growing up, I had a cousin tell me that I was just as good as the next person. Think about that. One phrase, you are just as good as the next person, turned it around. I could have gone a different path. And it's hard sometimes to open up, but I'm telling everybody, you are just as good as the next person. And yeah, maybe I'll poke fun at myself, but I'm there to help other people who are there being ridiculed to stand up for them, because it's not right. And it's going to take a while for others to find their way. That's why we have to do it all together. And that's why we focus on the word of support. So yeah, today is April Fool's Day. So what? People are going to try to come up with a prank. I thought I would do a couple of pranks, like saying, if you wait to the end of this broadcast, I will reveal all the international winners, and then get to the end and say, April Fools. But I wasn't going to do that. But I will remind everybody that international winners will be recognized in their hometowns or their home events. So you might be going to an SRD, ARD, or PRD and get a pleasant surprise. No fooling. So there's a lot more that could be discussed about how we can use humor as a coping mechanism. Done it for a long time. I'll poke fun at myself, but I'm going to make darn sure I don't poke fun at anybody else. So getting to that journey of accountability, I had not been able to weigh in at chapter for a month, the whole month of March. Pretty scary. And I was a little leery of going to the chapter and stepping on the scale. And it occurred to me, the longer we're away from chapter, the easier it is to come up with excuses to skip one more week. I'll say, well, I know I'm going to have a gain, so I'll give it one more week. That's not going to work, folks. Not going to work. You need to go face the scale, talk to your TOPS members, get a chance to share what went on. And, I said, hey, I've been away for a month. And I, nobody's fault but mine. It's scheduling and just weather and everything, not feeling well. I mean, the whole 9 yards, right? We can have a whole talk about excuses. But I went last night and weighed in, and I reported for the month of March, I had gained 2.4 pounds, which I started to fool myself saying, well, that's not bad. I can live with that. Well, not really. Yeah, it could have been worse, but it could have been better. So here's the report. For the first quarter of 2022, I'm up 7.2 pounds. I got to turn it around. I think I've been fooling myself, thinking that, well, if I'm away, an extra snack here or something here, I got time. No, we don't have time. Time is now. So if you're away from a chapter meeting for a week or two, or unfortunately, some of our TOPS members have been away for a lot longer than that, go ahead. You got to get there and get back into the swing of things. And if you know someone who's been away for a while, maybe they're inactive, you got to give them a call. Sometimes maybe that's all it needs. Hey, I'm going tonight. Why don't I pick you up? Or why don't you meet me before and we'll talk a little bit before we go into the meeting together. Sometimes that's all anybody needs is just a friendly face, a smile, and realizing that in TOPS, we don't judge each other. We just support each other. And I'll see you next Friday.